You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. Mixing up again. I've taken the hot seat today, so I'm your host Kev, and I'm joined by Robin and Adam as we review what was probably a frustrating game in the end versus Wolves. Let's start with introduction. So, Robin, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I've sort of calmed down a little bit. I think that's the best way to do it. Obviously fuming yesterday, and then seeing everything last night, and then today of all the pundits and ex-referees and everything putting their bit in. It just exacerbates it even more. But look, we'll get onto that anyway, won't we? But yeah, in general, I'm good, mate.
Good. And Adam, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, apart from rebuilding a whole child's room this weekend and seeing that idiotic result, shall we say, due to referees. But hey, we live and breathe and we move on.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those, isn't it, where we've always said about consistency being the biggest problem in this division. The talking point of that game was the red card. Probably in the end a good result when you play most of the game with 10 men, because let's be honest, lads, I think our predictions would probably have been right if we'd have kept the full squad. We were all over them at the start of the game. We were dominant. We were in the right positions. Everyone was up for it. There was a few feeble shots, but the momentum was building. And obviously, that red card just absolutely kills the game. You go from an attacking team to instantly having to play with 10. And I mean, I will say, and Robin, I'll come to you straight away on this one. I thought Regis managed it really well. He didn't kind of drop an attacker and go, five at the back or anything. He kind of said, we can do this. Let's just manage it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing is, I think Regis should realise that even with 10 men, he was still the better team. It was frustrating to concede the equaliser. I don't want to hang roofs out to dry, but he seemed more preoccupied with the player in front of him.
I think you put that in the chat, didn't you?
Yeah, where he's like, to me, I mean, I know I'm sort of probably jumping ahead, but it's obviously the way my thought pattern is with the game. Obviously, the corner comes in, there's the player in front of us, and he seems more intent on trying to push him out of the way. I mean, the player actually, most people say, the player's backing in and fouling. The player didn't for a change. He just stood there. And Russ was a bit preoccupied with him, and then he wasn't in the right position. And to be honest, I think he should have dived more. I think he just sort of watched it go in. It's a little bit worrying for me. In the last 3 games, that's 10 goals he's conceded. And what I'm worried about is, has his head been turned with the rumours? And now his heart's no longer in it. I know he came out the other week and talked about, the project, etc. and that. But when you've got a couple of teams which are in the so-called top 6, etc., rumoured to be after him, and it'll be a bumper payday for him, has he took his mind off his job?
Yeah, I thought more along the lines of, has he got a confidence issue after his injury? Is he now worrying about stretching too hard, trying too much, and ending up with another niggle? But yeah, for me, it was a disappointing goal to concede. My frustration with their goal was Siddiqui, with the fact that he got the slightest of touches and started to roll about to get the foul, and it's like, instead of messing about, mark your man because rolling about until the ball goes in the back of the net and going, oh, oops.
I mean, I do get that, but the incident with Siddiqui was nowhere near the ball anyway. He was never going to jump up and win the header and cut it out,
No, absolutely not.
because obviously the trajectory of the ball. And I know there's this thing with VAR, which we'll come on to anyway, that they see things like that and they don't look at that where to refer like to the NFL, which you've done previously, like with the pass interference rule, they deem it whether or not the ball's catchable.
Yeah,
And obviously Siddiqui wouldn't have
got near
got
it.
to that ball at all, so it was sort of like something that was irrelevant to me anyway.
Yeah.
The other thing for me on it was the fact being, where's it gone in today's football of play to the whistle? That's what I don't understand with modern players, where they'll throw themselves to the ground and like, come on, blow up straight away, and it's like, get back up, play on, like crack on. Like, I understand obviously if you're legitimately hurt, but in that instance for Siddiqui, it's like he's trying to buy something and he's not going to win that buying of that foul.
Can I just come in there, Adam? And if players get straight back up, it's never given. So he's probably feeling that he was fouled. So he stayed down, etc., to try and persuade, influence the referee, etc., to blow the whistle. Whereas if he had just got straight back up, there's no way you're going to get that foul anyway. Not that it was a foul.
Yeah, of course.
That's the thing, and that's it. I mean, quite funnily, that's sorry, Kev, but it's sort of taken us straight to the sending off.
Yeah. Look, that was going to be the point I wanted to bring up next. Was obviously how that happened. I was angry in the chat. I was. For me, these players need to be challenged with what they're doing. Haaland wears his hair tied up out the way, and it's only after the match you see him take it down, and it's down by his back because he doesn't want his hair pulled. He doesn't want it in his face. He doesn't want it getting in the way. Yet more and more we're seeing, in fairness, Tolu's been involved in 3 incidents of hair pulling. And, for me, you've got to start looking at the simulation side of it. Ballard has got the most minimal contact with his hair. He's more pulling the shirt, which is a no-no. But, he's pulling the shirt and he's defending. It's that old-fashioned centre forward, centre back, to and throwing. His hands are on the back of the shirt and go up to the back of Tolu's neck, which is obviously where his dreads are. And unfortunately, he catches them. And obviously, as he's then pulling away, because Tolu then starts to go down, obviously, he does keep hold of a couple of strands of hair. But I also do think Ballard thought it was the shirt he was holding. And,
I mean, yes.
he then goes to the ground, looks up at the referees, gesturing of my hair's been pulled. Well, you're instantly trying to persuade the referee there, aren't you?
I mean, that's my thing. To break it down from the start, Kev, obviously, it's a physical battle. Tolu's grabbing hold of Ballard. Ballard's doing the same thing. Yeah, he thought he had his shirt. Because there's not a single, unless a player's running away from you and you actually grab the hair and pull it, you're not making a conscious decision to pull the hair. So Ballard's there, he's jostling with the player, he's had hold of him, he's backing into him. This is a 6 foot 5.5 inch player, by the way. That weighs 16 odd stone. He's a bit of a beast.
Mhm.
And he's backing in and he's using his arms and he's grabbing and Ballard's doing the same. We want that physicality in the league. You look back a few weeks ago with Haaland and Gabriel headbutts him, but he doesn't get a violent conduct.
Yeah.
Red card, VAR didn't interject. They thought that was all right. And yet, 3 strands of hair or his dreads, which obviously he had hold of his shirt first. His head doesn't go back whatsoever. He slips, he loses his footing, goes down and starts gesturing like he's had his hair pulled.
Mhm.
Surely that's the same as waving the imaginary red card.
Yep.
Yeah. The,
You
the
know,
other thing,
and
the other thing for me on
it
it,
it
Robin,
was it wasn't seen it wasn't seen or deemed enough by the referee. It wasn't seen or deemed enough by the assistant referee. Pathetic linesman, don't do any job whatsoever. Now, and yet the VAR referee, who I'll add to this because I looked it up, who was VAR. He hasn't refereed a game since September 2023. It was. He's that out of touch with the game. He's not even been given lower league games. He's not refereed at all. And
yeah,
he's decided to get into the game and interfere with the game through what wasn't a clear and obvious error. It certainly wasn't violent conduct, which is what Ballard was sent off for, and will serve a 3-match ban. And this is it. I've seen a lot of socials say people say, "Oh, appeal it. It wasn't violent conduct."
Not be able to.
But the rule says it is a violent conduct offence by pulling an opponent's hair. They've got to look at what a hair pull is.
that's
You
what
know,
I
See,
was.
because
that was going to be my next point for you, Robin. Was that
I'll just add to this as well. In the women's game, they are not allowed to have their hair loose. They have to have their hair tied up because they've seen that it could be an issue. So why isn't that rule applied to the men's game?
thank
Why
you?
are we allowing these players to have these hairstyles and not tie them up? Because they know, and this Tolu's happened before with him, he knows the rules. And that is cheating because he's deliberately tried to get a player sent off with a gesturing to the referee, not so much a hair pull, which was accidental, but the fact that he then gestures to the referee, that is trying to get a player sent off, and that is despicable by a professional football player.
Yeah. That's where I just want to add my bit in. Because if you look at who the referee was, he managed ref the Leeds game last week. Calvert-Lewin pulls somebody's hair. What was the card? I'll play on. Carry on. It's fine.
It was in the FA Cup.
Well,
Cucurella.
Yeah,
to be fair, it's Cucurella, and let's
yeah.
face it, anyone would love to pull Cucurella's hair.
But it's one of those things. You see, actually, Calvert-Lewin grabbing actually a full handful of hair and pulls Cucurella back.
Yeah.
Nothing's given, and you look at that, and it's just like, where did you see last week that you deemed no, it's fine, and the VAR in that game, no, it's fine, crack on. To then Ballard, to me personally, as a defender, you go if somebody's leaning back into you, yes, obviously it's silly, but you're going to grab you're going to grab a fistful of shirt or something like that because you're going to pull them back into you. So if they fall on you, you can be like, wait a minute, you fell on me, ref.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, obviously, I don't want to dumb it down to our listeners and that, but obviously, as defenders backing in, they're backing in and they're grabbing and then trying to then create that separation. Obviously, for the defender, from a footballing side of it, they are trying to keep the attacker close so they can't spin off them and stuff like that and have the advantage. So there's always that thing. It's a physical game and it should be a physical game. It just seems like they're intent on making it a non-contact sport now. And yeah, look, I'm really, really frustrated with it, as you can probably tell.
that was all the points I was going to raise, and thank you for sort of summarising it like I was going to. Yeah, women's game, it's hair up, out the way, tied back. Men's game, it's do what you like, and yeah, it does appear that there is a massive lack of consistency. I mean, for me, match of the day summarised it beautifully when they said, well, look at a few weeks ago, there was an incident where a player grabbed the back of Jokeres's head, but because he's got a skin fade type haircut, he obviously can't grab the hair. Nothing happens. Well, if Jokeres all of a sudden now decides he wants to grow, a nice long haircut, or not have a haircut and grow nice long hair, instantly he's now going to be getting free kicks, penalties, and more fouls. I mean, that's the most bizarre part of it. I mean, I've seen a lot of, things on social media now where people have photoshopped the Sunderland squad to all be, with dreads and braids and long hair and all the rest of it. And yeah, I think if the FA don't get a grip of this pretty quickly, next season's going to be farcical because you will start seeing the likes of Enzo not having his short haircut. He's going to grow it long, and as soon as the player goes near the back of his head, foul, ref, where's the red card? You're going to end up in that area of, your football matches aren't going to be discussed. Aren't going to be discussing the results. You're going to be discussing who's got the nicest hairdo.
I mean, this is the thing, right? They need to clarify the rule. They need to say that hair pull's not necessarily violent conduct.
If they were having a shoving and pushing match, and someone grabs the hair and intentionally pulls them over by the hair, then 100%, then it is violent conduct for me. But what Ballard did isn't violent conduct.
No, it's not. I mean, and the thing is, so you saw, 10 minutes later, Trey Hume going for a tackle and a player then goes studs up on his shin.
And not even a yellow.
Not even a yellow card, and yet that's endangering the player.
Yep.
I mean, fair enough, Trey was along the floor, and stuff like that, but, that's something that could cause a nasty gash or something or break a leg. I mean, it's, going back to, the Thursday night and Villa Forest in the conference or the Europa League thing, semi-final, and Elliot Anderson, absolutely, it was a leg breaker on Ollie Watkins, but it didn't get reviewed. So what they're saying, what the officials now and that are saying is that you can potentially break a player's leg, but you can't touch his hair. I mean, this is where you see so many times where people are saying the game's gone because they're pampering to these stupid little nuances of rules rather than actually dealing with the issues that are bad. And like I say, I mean, the thing with Ballard, no one in the ground even knew that apart from Tolu. But he knows the rules because he's used it to his advantage before. And like I said, he deliberately then gestured, which, is to try and get a player sent off. To try and gain an advantage. So to me, as a professional footballer, trying to get another player dismissed is the lowest of the low.
No, absolutely. And, let's be honest, next game, the same thing will happen. Another player will go near him. If they catch his hair, it'll be another controversial decision. That, like I say, Tierney's probably just as bad for it himself. I think he's been involved in 3 of the hair pull incidents so far. I believe he's given a red for 2 of them now, and one of them he didn't even notice or didn't want to notice. I don't know which way it worked.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, he's probably looked back on the backlash of the Calvert-Lewin one, which was the middle one of the three. And
And now,
because that wasn't punished, he's now thought, I've got absolutely berated for this. Now I've got to send him off. And he's probably
because
looking
even
at it. But,
Ballard even says, I didn't know I'd done that. I thought I had his shirt.
I mean, you saw his
But
reaction, his face. That's a player that didn't know he'd done anything wrong. But what got me is when Tierney went over to the monitor, it's a still of him holding the hair.
yep,
And this is what I've said about VAR before. The first thing that it should be is it played at normal speed,
showing the whole incident.
the whole instant. So it's a blank screen till the ref goes over. He sees it
Yep.
normal speed. And only then, after he's seen it normal speed from various angles, what they should do is say, do you stick by your decision? Because at that point, it's not a clear and obvious error.
No, I couldn't agree more. This is the
And then
problem. And
yeah,
slowing it
exactly.
down makes
Sorry,
it look
mate.
worse, doesn't
Well,
it?
it's not even slowed down. They showed a still of it. They showed a still. They showed a picture of him with 3 strands of his hair, and then they show it slowed down, and it's like, and then they show it full speed. And the thing is, though, it should be full speed to start with. See it in real time as it happened in the game. From different angles, fair enough. I've got no issue with different angles. But the first one the referee should see is the angle from his point of view to see if he made a clear and obvious error. And that's where VAR were meant to get involved. They were meant to get involved on a clear and obvious error. And if they show it from that point of view where the ref was, and it doesn't show you made a clear and obvious error, then VAR stops.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with fouls. You watch VAR when they show a foul, they normally show it at a quarter of the speed with the most impacted point showing. But yet, like you say, when Hume got wiped out, studs up on his shin, VAR apparently didn't even look at it. It wasn't even brought to review.
Yeah,
And that's
because
the bit for me that's baffling.
because the referee saw it and gave a free kick. And
Yeah,
this is the thing. VAR are trying to re-referee the game, and that's what they shouldn't be doing. It's meant to be an assistant, not re-refereeing, and they're re-refereeing the games, and that's the issue. Offsides, yep, get involved because they are black and white if you're offside or not.
yeah. And I get sometimes it's too difficult for the naked eye to see. When we're talking some of them that have been over the weekend, an elbow out of place, a strand of hair out of place. I get VAR getting involved, but like you say, where they're now starting to re-referee the game, that's when it's getting a little bit beyond reasonable. And like I say, it feels like all we've spoken about this pod is the referees, but there just seems to be a real lack of quality. It's like we've said in the past. It's almost like they've become too reliant on the man in their ear
Yep,
telling them what they've done all right or wrong.
100%, mate. 100%. They are now over-relying on a second opinion. And that's where it's wrong. The referee is there. I mean, it's in the name. The referee, it's his decision what he sees fit. You know,
Or
yeah, like so we've had a bit of a rant. I mean, we should really actually review the game as such. you know,
this is the problem. That game, all that actually came out the end of it was we're now mathematically safe from relegation, um, and our European hopes are kind of also scuppered. So for me, it's one of them where, yeah, the game kind of is the end. The end result is the end result, really. Yeah, I think the lads did well to kind of, like we said, stay composed. It would have been easy to lose your heads, and Wolves really did put the pressure on after that red card because they probably thought this is for the taking. This is going to be our first win in, well, other than the Spurs game, first win in a non-relegation battle, and would have probably given them the opportunity to leapfrog Burnley.
I mean, that's the frustrating thing to me. Not being funny, is the fact that has probably ruled out Europe for us.
Yeah.
And when you look at stuff like that, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, another dodgy decision is impacting, where a club finishes and the finances of a club. Because let's face it, I mean, like we said previously, we're probably not ready for Europe. Let's not lie to that. It would have been great, but the pressure on the squad that we have, and we've seen it this season, that our squad really hasn't got the strength and depth that we'd like to have.
Yeah.
So because of that, Europe may have been a bit much, playing obviously Sunday, Thursday as it is. I mean, to be fair, it might have been a bit easier for me if we were in Europe because, I could have planned my weekends a little bit better and stuff, and knowing that I would have had Sunday games rather than it could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But yeah, it's just it's one of those that's really hard to take because it was a game that was taken out of our hands by really, really poor officiating by primarily the VAR. And I do feel sorry for Tierney a little bit because the pressure on him then to follow the rules as they are without any objections. See, everything in the football rules is subjective, really, because it's how somebody sees it.
Well,
But
this was it. I mean, for me, Tierney didn't really put himself in lights after the red card anyway, because he spent far too often, in my opinion, carrying on and having a chat with the Wolves players. 3 or 4 times he's there having a laugh and a joke with Armstrong. But yet, the minute Xhaka speaks to him about an incident, he gets a yellow card for dissent. Like the referee, for me, the referee is there to do a job, not to have a catch up and a chit chat. But
yeah,
I think at that point, the fact that Wolves played the way they played, got away with the tackles they got away with, kicking the ball away, moving the throw-ins, all messing about the dark arts and the championship football that they are, they got no cards. And that's the questionable bit for me. How the hell did they get through that entire game without a yellow?
I mean that is probably questionable, and I must say I agree with you on that one, Kev. Because some of their antics and some of their tackles should have been yellow cards. With the Tierney and Armstrong thing and that, and having a chat and stuff. Look, I mean, when I used to play, I used to go up to the referee before a game, have a chat with him. And always had that bit of sort of banter going on, light-hearted banter. And I actually think the way that I approached games when I was playing, it worked in my favour. Because I always like to get on the good side of the referee to start with, before the game even started. And have a bit of a laugh with him and stuff like that. And then during the game, I'd be talking to him, but not criticising exactly. just like having a chat and having a laugh. And I think it goes a long way. And I think that's the thing. I think with Xhaka, we don't know what was said. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of frustration. You saw that by his Instagram post. So maybe he did say something which might question the referee's integrity, which is always an automatic yellow card. We don't know, do we? We don't know what was said to gain that. But I must say, I don't think we, as a team, have the banter with referees as much as what other teams do, and is what I believe is necessary. I think if you go into the game as a player with the mentality of it's like I'm gonna be friends with the ref and have a bit of a laugh with him, I think it works in your favour at times.
Well, this is just it. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's a problem that a lot of newly promoted sides have. And that's not me saying that, the referees don't like the newly promoted teams, but they try and almost like discipline them differently in a this is how we do it in the Premier League. You're new here. Listen to how I do. But like I say, it is what it is. The result, like I say, mathematically marks us safe from the drop. We know we've got Premier League football to look forward to next season, unlike Wolves. Um, we know we've got some tough games. The next three games are tough games now, especially with obviously losing Ballard. But it's one of those, like you said, we can't appeal it as much as we should, because for me, Tierney needs to be looked at. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of it, mate, to be honest.
Well, I mean, we look, we could appeal it. I just think it's pointless. And the thing is, the FA look at these things and go, if it's a pointless appeal, you're wasting their time, and he can get an extra game ban, which means that he's going to miss the starting game of next season. So I think for a club, just let the lad go on holiday now. Let him go off to Dubai or Jamaica or wherever he wants to go on his holidays. And just say that's it. Really, it's a shame because a player like him shouldn't be missing games for something, as pathetic as that. And I will call it pathetic, and I'll call Tolu pathetic. I mean, the Wolves fans themselves, after that incident, were actually chanting F VAR, and it went in their favour. That shows you how much of a ridiculous decision it was. Their own fans disagreed with it. I mean, look, they had their moment where they come out and they score the equaliser. But realistically, after that, it was all us. I think they had one Adam Armstrong header, which Russ turned over.
Yeah.
But we were the team that had the possession. We were the team that was pressing. The only thing which worries me, and I've said it before, we need to shoot more. Stop trying to walk the ball into the net. Obviously, switch things about a bit, and I did call out in the chat that Wilson should have been on earlier than what he was, because they were there for the taking on the pace on the counter. Obviously, Ruff saw him, great ball to him. For some reason, obviously, Wilson tried to control the ball rather than let it run, and it went straight towards play. If he just let that run and run onto it with his pace, the keeper he was already retreating back, and then Wilson scores, and we've won 2-1.
Yeah. No, exactly, mate. Like I say, it's one of them shoulda, woulda, couldas, isn't it? Look, we're running out of time, lads. I just want to say thank you both for joining me. Hopefully, the next one we've got an opportunity to, well, not have the game ruled for us by someone, obviously Man United at home. But no, we'll reconvene later on in the week and we'll go through that one. To our listeners, obviously, thank you for joining us. Any questions, queries, ping us a message. Obviously, it's always good to see what you guys think of what we discuss. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. We'll catch everyone on the next one.